Uh, well, my talk this morning is on choosing to be happy, choosing to be happy. And it is a choice. I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said that people are about as happy as they choose to be. And it's amazing to me how many people choose to be unhappy. Angie mentioned Raymond Charles Barker, and he said you cannot cheer up people who are chronically unhappy. He says they are happy in their unhappiness. They're happy in their unhappiness. They really are. They have been so hurt and disappointed by life that hurt and disappointment is the only thing they feel comfortable about, and it's the only thing they have faith in. And they're only truly happy when they've convinced you that your life should be unhappy as well. And your happiness will irritate them to no end. They don't like happy people. They say they think they're stupid. And in reality, they're envious of them. In reality, they're envious of them. So make no attempts to reform them, Raymond Charles Barker said. He said, release them gradually. Make them Christmas card exchange people. I say don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. You don't have to make any announcements to them. They will drift away when you no longer give them energy and support to their misery. They'll just drift away very naturally. And they will find someone somewhere who will support them in their unhappiness. There's a bar somewhere playing some sad country song. My oldest sister, the beauty queen, she's 16 years older than I am. She was a beauty queen. She evidently, her first romance was painful because she became kind of obsessed with Kitty Wells. Y'all remember Kitty Wells? She was a little bit before Patsy Cline. She was called the country music's queen. And Kitty Wells had a song that Reba became obsessed with. It's actually a Willie Nelson song. It's called Hello Walls. Hello Walls. And it's about a love-struck person going back to the home, where the broken home. And as she comes in, she starts singing to the walls. And they sing back. They're, hello, walls. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. She sings to the window panes. Yeah, she tells them that's not a teardrop I see. No, it's a little rain in the pane. So now, when you start having inanimate objects supporting your misery, especially if they start singing to you, you're in a bad spot. That's a time to get the dead chicken out and swing it over your head. A box of fried chicken from Publix will work just as well, and you have dinner for that night. So now, there seems to be something in our human nature that draws us to the negative side of life. Something in our human, not our spiritual nature, but our human nature. We are spirit and dust, and it must be the dust part of ourselves that's attracted to the negative. Sigmund Freud, he called it the death wish. And if you study it a little bit more, what he was talking about, it's more accurately translated into the desire to be unconscious. He said we have this desire to be unconscious. And he said that if we didn't have it, that we would have evolved past war millions of years ago. Because if we didn't have this, we wouldn't be into the foolishness of war. And I think if he were alive today and saw the opioid epidemic, he would be he would see that as evident, this desire to be unconscious to the point where we end up killing ourselves. So there's something about it, and we should be conscious of it and mindful of it. And we should order our lives in a certain way that like we can't avoid it. We have this propensity, let's avoid it. And just know this is in our nature. I do this as well. I have a obsession, a fondness for cheeses of all varieties. Yes, I have not met a cheese that I don't love. I can love the expensive stuff. We used to live a block from Whole Foods in Atlanta, And I loved all their cheeses. There's one you can get that's aged in a cave, and it's got this little salty rind to it, and it's just wonderful. Tom, my partner, said that the cheese department, that they had my photo in the back and said, don't put out samples when you see him coming. Now, I'm no snob when it comes to cheese. A good block of cheddar cheese and a crusty loaf of bread is one of my favorite meals. I mean, so I can be happy with expensive cheese and with inexpensive cheese. And I know this about myself, so if you come to my house and you look for cheese, I'm the cheesiest thing you're going to find. I'm the biggest block of cheese you're going to find because I know that I just can't trust myself with cheese in the house. It calls to me in the night, come, come. So I know better, so I order my life so that I don't have that temptation. I avoid that propensity. And I don't have to struggle with it. I don't get into a battle with it. I don't give it any more energy. I'm just mindful that this is a healthy way for me to proceed in life. So I think we should do that as well for this propensity to think and observe and be fascinated by the negativity of life. There's a wonderful quote that showed up on my laptop. I'm not sure where it came from. I think it's Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, but I'm not certain. So the quote is, all evolution is an awakening and a development to a greater possibility, resulting in an unfoldment of an inherent potential. And that inherent potential is for happiness. Inherent within all of us is the potential for happiness. Or else, why would a spirit created us? If we weren't here to experience happiness and love and joy and health and prosperity, why would God have bothered to create us? God said in creation, let there be light, in the creation story, and there was light. And it responds, this is good. So when we go through our lives, when we look for things that are good, and we have had some part in creating them, we're in a way mimicking the divine creation. And therein lies a lot of power, a great deal of power. The Chinese have a saying that if you want to be happy for a lifetime, plant a garden. And I think what they're really saying is they're saying to get into the soil of creation, get into the mix of it, get your hands dirty. With a garden, you're in the act of creation. You revel in the things that bloom and blossom, and you deal with the things that don't. Because sometimes, in spite of all your care and attention, your best intention, some things are just not going to grow and flourish, in spite of all the good work you do. This past spring, when the plant shops had all their pretty plants out, I got talked into buying 2 rather expensive plants by a salesperson, and he just assured me that this place that I had described to him, that these 2 plants would do just perfectly well there. So I got them, I did everything right, I put them in, and they have just lingered all summer long. Each of them have just 1 leaf left on the stem. I need to call Dr. Kevorkian of the plants to get them out. And in spite of all my care, they're not doing well. Now, in another area of the yard, I just basically threw in some milkweed plants. I just kind of dumped them in the ground. I didn't do much care to them. They're just flourishing wonderfully. And they're attracting all sorts of butterflies to them. And they're just beautiful. So I tend to the ailing plants as best I can. I try not to get too angry about the salesperson that sold them to me. I try not to blame myself too much for not being smart enough or not putting them in the right place. And then I consciously shift my attention to the milkweed plants and to the butterflies. And then I drink that in. I drink that into the core of my being and say, I'm having some role in this wonderful journey that these butterflies are on. I've helped to bring a little bit of beauty and bring a little bit of calmness and joy to life. And then I revel in that. Throughout our lives, that's the crux of our growth. Which of these streams of energy do we choose to work with? That which is not doing well and brings us frustration, or that which is bringing us joy and bringing making life better? When we dwell on a memory, we're actually working with the emotional energy created from that circumstance to bring more of those events to our lives. And just as sure as we prepare the soil for a new plant, when we're going over a bad memory, when we're reliving it, talking about it, sharing it with people, that's what we're doing. We're preparing the soil of our consciousness so that the roots of the event can draw to it the nutrients needed to bloom forth into a similar situation and to match again our vibration, our emotional vibration that was caused by the original event. So when we focus on good stuff, we're doing the same thing. We're preparing that to attract to us another event. And we can do this in large and small ways, and in even small ways, we can have a huge impact when we walk in faith. The negative that we feed only gets the energy that we send it. But we can send it a lot of energy because we have a lot of faith and confidence in the negative. The good that we try to nurture not only receives the energy from our intention, but also the natural flow of life energy from the universe. Because life, the universe wants us to succeed. The universe wants us to be happy. The universe wants us to be joyful. And when we envision ourselves as happy, when we put our hands to work making ourselves happy and helping those around us to be happy, we step into a vortex of creation and power. Spirit was happy in creation. It said, let there be light, and there was light, and Spirit responded, and this is good. Then Spirit decided to create humans. It was a little downhill from that point on. Karen Armstrong, I think she's probably one of the best scholars we have now on spirituality. She had a very interesting observation when it came to the Christian story of creation. And the observation is that from the very beginning, and as the story moves along, that Spirit is really kind of confounded about how to deal with humans. At first, it's very involved. It says it walks in the cool of the evening with Adam and Eve. But then later, it keeps moving further and further back because it doesn't understand how to interact. And by the story of the flood, it's totally confused. And after the flood, it says, I won't do this again. I've made a mistake. I'm not going to do this again. And I'll promise you I won't. And she says it almost sounds like an abusive partner saying, you make me do things that I'm not comfortable with. And so it's pulling further away. I think it's a very fascinating myth, and I don't know what to make of all of that. But I think there's a meaning, there's some kind of meaning in that for us, or else it wouldn't have survived thousands of years. There's something that has a meaning for our emotional growth. And for me, as I thought about it this week, what I realized was Spirit was satisfied in creation, but not satisfied by creation. Creation is not here to make us happy, but it's what we bring to it that provides us with a sense of accomplishment, satisfaction, meaning, and ultimately happiness. What do we bring to the table? And what do we do with the happiness that comes our way? Do we acknowledge it? Do we hold on to it? Do we pass it along? Do we try to create more of it for others? And we can do that in easy ways. It doesn't have to be big and huge. Even small interactions with other people can make a big, huge impact. I think I told you last week that I had, the week before, I had to go to Orlando for the national organization. And I had planned my week out to try to get as much done as I could. And before I headed out of town, I had 30 minutes to go over to Publix and order the cake for Reverend Nancy's birthday. And I thought to myself, 30 minutes is plenty of time to order a cake. So I get over there and I'm interacting with them, and first of all, I realized 30 minutes is probably not going to do this. And I'm interacting with the person, and I just get the sense, I just know this isn't going to work out. There's going to be a problem here. But the guy was really nice, so I gave him the information. I got on my way to Orlando. I was supposed to pick up the cake at 8 o'clock. I got over there at 8:30, and I go up to the bakery, and there's this sweet little lady in the bakery, and I asked her about it, and she says, "Oh, dear, we don't have that done. There was a question about the spelling of Reverend Nancy." So that's okay. So I helped her out, and it wasn't even my handwriting. That I would have understood. No. So I helped her out, and she said, and I could sense that she wanted to do a really wonderful job. And because she kept bringing up the idea that, A, this was for a minister, and it was for a female minister. And I could tell there was something very important for her, that she was doing this for a lady minister. And my intuition was that there had been someone in her past that had meant a lot to her, that was a lady minister. And it was coming to me that it was a grandmother, because I could just tell there was a lot of energy from her. Now, I didn't share that with her because I didn't want to be the weirdo in the bakery seeing dead people. They already suspect me in the cheese department over in Publix. So I didn't want to add anything to it. So she told me, she said, just go about your business, give me 10 minutes and come back. So I did. I got my other supplies. I came back. She had made an English rose garden out of a little cake. She had taken butter and sugar, and she had rose bouquets. She had little rose petals falling off the side. I mean, she had just put her love and heart into this sugar and butter and roses. And I told her, this is lovely. And as she boxed it up, she told me, she said, "You be sure to tell Reverend Nancy, happy birthday for us." And I just thought, this is just wonderful, wonderful. So as I came back in the office and I was sorting things out, my receipt, I was still thinking about that little lady. And so I thought to myself, you know what? We have Reverend Nancy's books outside. I'm going to go get her one of those books, and I'm going to take it over there to her. And so I put it in an envelope, and I didn't know her name, so I just wrote on it, "To the nice lady who decorates cakes on Sunday morning." And I got over to Publix, and I was telling them about it, and they immediately knew who I was talking about. And they just thought it was the best thing in the world. I guess cake decorators don't get a lot of compliments. But you would have thought I brought them a turkey dinner. I mean, they were just so excited about it. And that feeling of good, that feeling of having done something, stayed with me all day long. I go to this gym over here on Highway 1, Orange Theory. The theory is to take money from old people and make them feel miserable. And it's not a theory anymore. I think they got it down pat. But they will tell us, they'll say, you're gonna have the afterburn. Your muscles are still going to be burning through the calories even after you're done here. Well, why don't we start investing in an afterglow? Why don't we start doing things that are so good, that are bringing joy and happiness and support and encouragement to people, that we'll get an afterglow from it. And then we can go out and we can deal with the rest of the world. See, we can choose happiness when we bring God's happiness to life. That's what you're doing. You're bringing Spirit's happiness to life. And so we can choose that. And then we can go through our week and we can proclaim it. We can say, I am healthy and this is good. I'm joyful and this is good. I am happy and this is good. And then through our hearts and souls, we'll just flood the world. And we can create more of it. The ladies at Publix, they're easy. But try calling up a relative that drives you to distraction. And regardless of how it goes, this is good. It may not end up like what you how you think it should, but say, this is good. See, the little lady that decorated Reverend Nancy's cake, she spent that extra time in it. She allowed the love that she had gotten from whoever, maybe her grandmother, to pour through her heart and soul to decorate that cake. And she didn't know what ends that cake was going. She didn't have a vision of what celebration or how it was going to make us feel or Reverend Nancy feel. She did what she could from her love and her heart, and she put it in that cake, and then she released it into faith. And that's what we need to do. We need to open up our hearts and our souls. We need to step up to be the most loving, courageously kind people we can be. And then we need to release it in faith, knowing that we've done our part. And as we do our part, Spirit is going to step up, unleashing a tidal wave of love, of joy, of kindness and compassion that the world is so desperately in need for. But my dear friends, we are up to it. Regardless of how hard the storm may be blowing outside, we are up to bringing God's love, God's happiness, God's compassion, and God's peace to this world. We are up to the task. Spirit has faith in you, and I do as well. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.